One crime, 1,000 questions. Welcome to True Crime Briefing, where the truth is never buried for long.
Imagine inviting someone into your home, someone you trust, and then, just hours later, your life unravels into a waking nightmare. In 2005, a quiet South Carolina library became the starting point for a sequence of unimaginable violence. Stephen Stanko, once known as a published author, a model inmate, and a man seeking redemption, revealed himself as something far darker. Within hours, he murdered his partner, brutally assaulted her teenage daughter, and killed a kind, elderly friend. Now, 2 decades later, with 2 death sentences behind him and 1 execution date ahead, the state of South Carolina prepares for justice. June 13th, 2025. This is the harrowing case of Stephen Christopher Stanko. Stephen Christopher Stanko was born on January 13th, 1968, in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, where his father served in the military. Discipline and order defined his early years, but they weren't enough to contain the darkness lurking beneath. From a young age, Stanko was bright, but manipulative. Teachers noted both his intelligence and his unpredictable temper. His descent into crime began small: petty theft, deception, manipulation. But at just 18, it escalated. He was convicted of kidnapping and assault, earning a 10-year sentence in a South Carolina prison. That's where things took an unexpected turn. Most fade into obscurity behind bars. Not Stephen Stanko. In prison, he rebranded himself. As an intellectual, he devoured books on philosophy, law, and history. Guards and inmates alike described him as articulate, educated, even cultured. In 2002, still incarcerated, Stanko co-authored Living in Prison, a history of the correctional system with an insider's view. The book earned him brief acclaim and helped craft the illusion of a man who had turned his life around. In 2004, after serving his sentence in full, Stanko re-entered society. Polished, soft-spoken, intelligent. He settled in Myrtle Beach and became a regular at the Socastee Library, where he met 43-year-old Laura Ling, a librarian and single mother. Laura was warm, kind, and empathetic. She believed in second chances, and despite warnings from others, she offered Stanko a room in her home. She had no idea. She had just invited a killer through her front door. April 8th, 2005. A Friday. Quiet. Ordinary. But before the sun would set, Laura Ling's home would become a scene of horror. That morning, Stephen Stanko was calm, controlled. Then something in him snapped. He tied up Laura Ling and raped her teenage daughter. He then strangled Laura to death with a cord and attacked the girl again, leaving her wounded and bound. Miraculously, the girl escaped and placed a chilling 911 call that would become central to the investigation.
911, what's your emergency?
Laura was dead. Her daughter was traumatized, but alive. But Stanko wasn't done. Later that same day, Stanko drove to Conway, South Carolina. There, he visited 74-year-old Henry Turner, a retired businessman and fellow library patron. Turner was mid-shave when Stanko asked to use his shower. Moments later, Stanko shot him twice in the head, stole his car, and vanished. The manhunt spanned 4 states, hundreds of officers, national headlines. 4 days later, on April 12th, police found Stanko at a hotel in Augusta, Georgia, just blocks from the Masters golf tournament. He was calm, almost detached. Stanko's first trial took place in Georgetown County. The charges: murder, rape, and attempted murder. His defense? Insanity. Psychologists argued Stanko suffered from a severe personality disorder rooted in trauma and possible brain dysfunction. But prosecutors painted a different picture. A man who planned, calculated, and acted with chilling clarity. The most powerful witness? Laura Ling's daughter. She took the stand and told the court everything. Her testimony, supported by DNA evidence, ligature marks, and the autopsy report, left little room for doubt. Stanko had also fled the scene, shaved his head, changed his appearance, and stolen a vehicle. Hardly the actions of a man disconnected from reality. In August 2006, the jury returned a unanimous verdict. Guilty on all counts. The sentence: death. But the story didn't end there. In 2009, Stanko was tried a second time for the murder of Henry Turner. This time, the insanity defense was dropped. His legal team claimed mishandled evidence and investigative flaws. It didn't sway the jury. Stanko was convicted again, receiving a second death sentence, plus 110 years for the rape and attempted murder of Laura's daughter. For nearly 20 years, Stanko's attorneys tried to overturn the convictions. They cited improper jury selection, prejudicial language, and the prosecution's use of the term psychopath as inflammatory and unfair. But the South Carolina Supreme Court was unmoved. In 2013, the appeal was denied. In 2016, his request for post-conviction relief failed. A federal review ended the same way, yet Stanko still gave interviews. He admitted what he'd done, but claimed the system had failed him too. By 2024, all appeals had run out. The clock was ticking. On May 16, 2025, the South Carolina Supreme Court signed Stanko's death warrant. Execution date, June 13, 2025. But one decision remained. How would he die? Since 2011, South Carolina had been unable to procure lethal injection drugs. In response, the state authorized two other methods: electrocution and firing squad. Stanko's attorneys filed emergency motions, calling the firing squad barbaric and secretive. They demanded answers about the process, personnel, and fail-safes. The state gave none. And on May 30th, just hours before the cutoff, Stanko chose lethal injection. If carried out, it would be South Carolina's first lethal injection in over a decade. In June 2025, with days to spare, Stanko's lawyers filed a last-ditch complaint in federal court. They argued lethal injection could cause excruciating pain, violating the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. They pointed to studies, botched executions, witness accounts of convulsions and screams. But Judge Richard Gergel rejected the claim. The court ruled that state procedures had been followed, and the evidence did not prove unconstitutional suffering. There would be no stay, no clemency, no commutation. On June 13th, 2025, Stephen Christopher Stanko is set to be executed by lethal injection. Stephen Stanko was executed on June 13th, 2025. The lethal injection of the powerful sedative pentobarbital began at 6 p.m., with a second dose administered 13 minutes later. He was pronounced dead at 6:34 p.m. In a trembling final statement, he expressed remorse and asked not to be judged by his worst day. The victims' families watched in silence as he took his last breath. His final meal has not been disclosed. His case leaves behind haunting questions. How does a man go from bookish inmate to brutal killer? Where do justice and revenge begin to blur? And does the method of execution define us more than the act itself? This chapter may soon close, but the debate is far from over. Thank you for watching True Crime Briefing. If this deep dive resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and tap the bell icon to stay updated. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Was justice served, or was it something else? Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay briefed.